Let's mock it up.
Mock it up, baby.
Let's mock it up. So Soto, you did your homework. We asked you, as if like there's a mouse in my pocket. Give us 3 mock drafts. One of them where you trade up, one of them where you trade down, one of them where you stay put. Did you go into these drafts before we show them? Did you go into these mock drafts saying, all right, this is the draft where I trade up, this is the draft where I trade down, this is the draft where I stay? Or is that how the draft fell to you, and so you decided mid-draft to make your moves? Which one was it?
I had to do it ahead of time, okay? Because the draft, the trade up draft, I had to do it beforehand, and you'll see why. So I had to go into it in my mind of this is what I want to do. And the other 2, I just kind of let it play out. The one that I didn't do anything, I didn't trade any picks at all. That one I just kind of like, okay, weighing best player available plus position of need, and then going into later in the rounds, okay, who fits? What is the type of player we're looking for at the positions that are available? And you see some overlap because I like those players at those spots, but only one time did I make a pre-decision of I'm going to trade up in this draft.
Okay, we'll start with the premeditated and the sexy one.
Ooh.
The trade up. All right.
Yep.
You got up to pick number 7 overall in round number 1 by trading with the Titans. You gave them number 13 overall, a 3rd rounder, and a 6th rounder to move up 6 spots.
A 6th rounder next year.
6th rounder next year.
Yeah.
That seems like we kind of fleeced the Titans a little bit, getting 6 spots for just a late 3rd, but possible. Like, you could pull that off. I think I'd be very happy if that's what we got. If that was our trade setup.
Well, it's not a late 3rd. You're still in like the top third, like the top half of the 3rd round.
So yeah, a 3rd. I'd be stoked if we got that. So let's say we move up to 7, right? We're inching our way up. We're like, oh, why are they going to 7? Do they think someone's going to fall? No. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Moving up 4 spots to number 3, costing us that 7th round pick, round 1 next year and round 2 next year. So we basically got from number 13 to number 3, and it cost us this one, next year's 1, next year's 2, this year's 3, and some change.
Yeah.
Not having to use three firsts to get into the top 3 is monumental if we can pull that off.
Yeah.
That's a monumental coup if we can pull that off. Getting that 3rd with the number 7, a round 1 and a round 2. I'm just wondering if other teams would beat us to that for that number 3 to get Jayden Daniels, right? In this one, it was Caleb and May, or May and Caleb, whatever, doesn't matter.
It was Caleb at first, May.
Caleb,
second.
May.
Yeah.
All right. To get Jayden Daniels, I'm wondering how many other teams would beat that offer.
Yeah, you'd have to really like him a lot.
Yeah,
a lot, and I don't know that. This is like me saying, okay, how am I going to get Jayden Daniels? That was my mindset going in. How am I going to get this player? I initially made the trade to number 7. So this is I was kind of playing around with you earlier today on the text chain, and I'm playing Telesco and the others, right? So Telesco texting New England like, hey, how do you feel? How comfortable are you with Jacoby Brissett? How much do you like him? Belichick left the cupboard pretty bare. They don't have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of explosive players there in New England. They need a lot to be competitive. Okay, now that that's there, how comfortable are you with Jacoby Brissett? And if I can bring you a top 10 pick and some other stuff, would you consider trading out of the number 3 spot?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you got? All right, so who is the team that we know for sure is going to be is settled at the quarterback position, is going to want the Chargers are going to want to trade with us, okay? And I don't know that we're going to be able to move up for as little as we gave up to go to like 4 or 5. So I said, okay, let's go 7. Let's go up maybe, a handful, 6 spots to 7 with the Titans. And hey, what do you guys think about doing a pick swap, but we'll give you another top, 80 pick, and we'll give you something next year. What do you feel about that? Maybe we have to throw a player in, or something like that. And I used that to get in position to be able to say to the Pats, okay, I got this set up. I can get you 7, and we'll do 1 and 2 next year. Will you give us that 3? And
if we could pull this scenario off, I am jerking off on the live show. Like, this would be great because it's fault. We're getting the guy we want. We're following my rule. We're just using 2 drafts of first round picks. So if he doesn't pan out, we try again in three drafts, right? To try to get the next guy. We're not giving up the entire future for Jayden Daniels. So we've got 2 drafts of first round picks to get him. This would be fun. This would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it might end up having to be like a 1 and a 2, and maybe that's it. Maybe not the 6 next year, but it'll have to be a 1st and a 2nd this year to move up to number 7 to be able to do that. It could end up being that, and if that happens, I mean, it's a little heavier, but it's something that we can work around. And I think if we're able to get the guy that we want at quarterback, I think it's something that it's definitely possible.
All right, so you made 4 total trades in this one. You don't have to go through every single guy, but walk me through the highlights of the rest of this draft because you got 2 5th rounders, a couple 7th rounders, traded down here and there.
Yeah. So the main thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get the guy that we're comfortable with, the guy that we feel is going to be the one that we can hang our hat on for the next 10, 15 years. But not mortgage a ton, and backfill some of those picks this year and next year. So we took Jayden Daniels at 3. We had the number 44 pick. We ended up flipping that to Philly for 50, 97, 160 this year, and then a 5 next year. So we're kind of replenishing that. We've traded that 6 away, but now we're getting a 5 back for trading back 6 spots. So we were still able to get Chop Robinson. Not a huge need for us, but him still being there. I don't think he's going to be there at 50, but he was there. And I said, okay, I can't pass up getting a player like him to put on that defense. Like the Ravens, they're getting another pass rusher because you get a cheap pass rusher and you're able to let other guys go because you have good, young, cheap talent, and you're able to keep that replenished and have a thick line that you can just rotate guys like hockey, in and out, in and out, in and out, always fresh. So the Cam Hart was a little bit of a reach at 97. The reason why I like him, you're going to see I have a little bit of a fetish for tall, long-arm DBs. Cam Hart's like 6'2", super long arms, tough player. So gritty player, smart player, went to Notre Dame, long, tall. That's what I'm looking for with my DBs. Cooper Beebe, I would be surprised if he's there at 119, but we did a little bit of a trade back, just a couple of spots with Seattle. The main thing for that is I wanted to get another pick next year. I wanted to not give up too much now, but I wanted to, when we traded back, we did a pick swap basically for our 4th and 6th round picks. We went back 6 spots, and then we went back 4 spots in the 6th round, but we got that extra 4th for next year. So we're fortifying that we gave up 1 and 2 next year, but we're kind of giving ourselves a little bit more to work with next year as well. Cooper Beebe was he was the best interior offensive lineman available, and I think if you add in the centers, he's probably still in the top 5, 6 of interior offensive linemen in the entire draft. So to pick him, past pick 100, I think it's going to solidify it, and it's a spot of need too. Logan Lee's just a big corn-fed white boy who can go out there and get it done. I like him a lot. Walter Rouse, he's a right tackle. Maybe younger, maybe he starts, maybe he doesn't, but you got a guy who can kind of flip around in there and get some playing time. You guys know I love Frank Gore Jr. Marcellus Dial is, again, a long, tall, tough DB, And then I can't say his name, but I saw him play at Oregon State. He may turn into a linebacker, but he's pretty freaking big. He's like 6'3". He's a pretty big dude.
You picked the last two just because they had sweet names. Admit it. By that point, you're just going like, all right.
Kitan Oladapo. Kitan Oladapo was big, dude. He's a big dude.
So in this one, we went trading up, getting the quarterback, getting in the top three, and then making it up with volume on the back end. On this one, traded down, going all volume. Traded with Green Bay. We traded back from 13 down to 25. Picked up another second, third, fourth, fifth rounder. Gave up another fourth and a fifth. So picked up an extra 2 and 3. Flopped the 4s and 5s, and we loaded up basically everything but quarterback until we get to round 5.
Yeah, so this was in this draft.
Completely different players. You only picked one of the same guy in Frank Gore Jr. With how
Cooper Beebe too.
Okay,
Cooper Beebe
yeah.
too.
Cooper.
And Marcellus Dial. Sorry, I don't want to step all up your shit. But what I did in this one is there's none of the guys that I wanted were there. So I said, you know what? What am I going to do? Top 4 quarterbacks. It's like the same thing as before. As you can see in the next one.
If you were forced to pick number 13 in this draft, who would it have been? Like, do you remember who was available? I'm sure 4 quarterbacks were gone. I'm sure 2 receivers.
It probably would have been the guy I picked the next one. When I just staying put, it would have been that guy. I'm not gonna say who it is. It's gonna be that guy.
Okay.
But when I picked at 13 when I was up. The top 4 quarterbacks were gone. The top 3 receivers were gone. The top 2 receivers were gone. The top 3 tackles were gone. And the top 2 edge rushers and the top 2 corners were gone. That's 12 players were already off the board. So it's like, okay, do I want to get the 3rd best receiver at 13 when I don't really need him that much? I need someone who's going to impact my team right now. So I said, you know what? Let me trade back and see who's available. They gave it. I was able to make this trade work, getting an extra 2 and an extra 3 for dropping 12 spots, and then just doing pick swaps for round 4 and 5. That's what I was able to do. Nate Wiggins was still there. I jumped all over it. Long armed. Again, tall, long armed DB. Good production.
Don't let anyone tell you like girth.
I like length, baby. Length at my DBs. That's what I like. Peyton Willis, both. He's 6'3", like 235, 240, tackling machine. The worst part of his game is probably in coverage, but he's still pretty good at that. Braden Fisk, very similar to Lee that we got last, but he's just a little bit more explosive. Just a big, huge defensive interior lineman, the best player available at that time, I felt. So I went and got him. Blake Fisher on the opposite side of Alt at Notre Dame. So the big-time pass rushers, I don't want to go against the freaking top tackle in the league. I want to go against the other guy. And the other guy still did a pretty damn good job. Next one, Rory's going to love this one, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He is like the opposite of the Peyton Wilson at linebacker. The best part of he's the best coverage linebacker in this draft by a lot. Super fast, not that big, needs to learn how to take on tackles a little bit better, but great in coverage. Cooper Beebe was there, took him, and here's the big one. Joe Milton was there at 169. He probably is not going to be there after his pro day because he's just wild out. But this is the type of player you take later in the draft when you have 2 steady eddies that you like at quarterback. You don't take another steady Eddie guy. You take a guy that has elite traits that you have to teach other things to, and they have the time to teach him because you're comfortable with the quarterbacks you already have.
You're buying a super lotto ticket. You're not buying a scratcher.
No. And he's not that far away, man. So, again, Frank Gore, Marcellus Dial's there, and then Brandon Coleman was available. He's tackle or guard. Just depth at the offensive line. All
right. Now staying put. Ironically, had the least amount of picks. 8 picks at staying put.
Yeah, so this was the pick that same thing happened as the previous draft, the previous mock. All those players were already gone. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and get the best player that I feel is available, which was Quinyon Mitchell, the corner out of Toledo. Which, I mean, I'm not going to hate it. Another long tough corner. Did really well in the Senior Bowl. Again, Peyton Wilson is another retread from the last draft. We already talked about him. Patrick Paul, super athletic. Probably
don't underestimate the good corner pick. I mean, that between like with our new defensive interior and a new number one corner picked first. I mean, we can always improve, obviously, the defense, but there's no holes anymore in the defense. There's no more holes. There's no more like, oh man, like that. We know where offensive coordinators are going to go because there's a hole there. Like, well, if a rookie corner pans out, there's no holes in the defense anymore.
For sure, you're not going to see like a deficit anywhere. Patrick Paul, like I was saying, was just the best player I saw at the time. Mm-hmm. Didn't get a very high grade, but I like him as a player. I think he had some injuries earlier in his career, but he's come back from that. Tackle or guard, he's mammoth. Kind of like the guys the road graders, the guys that AP likes. He wants to run the ball a lot. He wants to do a lot of power run. This is going to be the guy to do it. Chris Abrams-Drain, he's not as tall, but he's lanky. He's long, and he played in a big-time conference, and he did really well. Here we go. Interesting pick. Jordan Travis was available at 148. If Jordan Travis didn't blow his ACL out this season, he'd be a second-round pick. No problem. Think of the arm. He has a farva arm, whereas the velocity, the accuracy, he's just not as consistent with it. But what he does have is by far and away way better than Farva. He is on par once he gets healthy and everything. He's one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in this draft, bar none. He was, the reason why Florida State was as good as they were was because of him. The big knock on him is his arm strength. He doesn't have the big-time arm. He has everything else. The leadership. He has the mobility. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. So if we can get him, and again, the league knows we don't need these guys to play right away. Mm-hmm. So we can get him, and we can get him healthy, get him used to taking snaps under center, to turning his back to the defense on play action, stuff like that. So Jordan Travis was the pick there. We saw,
and he has two first names, like Ricky Bobby.
So Ricky Bobby. Would you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby? We got Frank Gore again because he was there, and I love him. Marcellus Dial again. I love those big long corners. I love these guys. And also at the end, Keith Randolph Jr. was just a guy that I saw, mammoth kid. We don't need him right away, but at the 7th round pick, he's like 6'5", 310, athletic kid. So we can get him behind Jank, behind Butler, behind Wilkins, maybe behind Wilson as well if he stays there at tackle. You get him to learn for a year or two, and then he breaks off his third year.
So that's it. 3 different drafts. Other shows will just give you one. We'll give you 3: a trade up, a trade down, and a stay put. Thank you, Soto.